150, 160. He's gone.
What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a science experiment here in the garage. And I haven't really talked about it on the channel, but in the coming year I plan on building a lot of furniture for myself. And that's for two reasons. The first is I haven't really found anything for sale, at least widely produced sale, that I really like. And the few pieces I have found that I really like are custom made, and they're incredibly expensive. So the second reason is I love making shit, and I assume you guys do too because you're watching my channel. So one of the things that I've been looking into recently is the style I like combines kind of the raw metal finish that you get on just standard steel and hardwood that's been very lightly oiled with like linseed oil or something like that, just to give it a little color, but very raw metal and wood, and kind of a quasi-rustic take on a modern design. So one of the things I've been looking into recently online is different ways of protecting this, because if you just make something out of steel like this, no matter how nice it is, no matter how much you keep it out of the elements, it's going to rust over time. It's going to oxidize just from the moisture in the atmosphere. And so what you really want is you want to give this rich black color necessarily, or kind of like that darker color, but you really want it to, you want to be able to touch it and not end up with hands that look like this. And you want it to look good and last for years and years and years. So we're going to do a little science experiment. Some of the things I've read about online, some of the things I just know from logic. So the first part is we have a control case. This right here is going to be our bare section. So all I did was I went like this with just a regular dry paper towel, got as much grit or anything that might be on here off. It's all completely dry. It's pretty rough, but it's part of the steel feel, but it's dry and you're not generating, here, let's take a clean piece and wipe it down. So we're still getting a little bit, but it's not nearly as much as I was getting before. So this section right here is our control section. We're going to check this in a few days and see what it looks like. And we're just going to leave it bare. This next section, all we're going to do is we're going to clean it up with IPA as best we can. IPA in a rag, isopropyl alcohol, 91%, and leave it for a few days. I think I'm going to leave it for like a week. And we're going to see what the reaction here is, how this looks compared to our control case. This is something I read about online. I picked this up at Home Depot. It's about $10 for this quart. It's called Penetrol. And what this does is it's supposed to be added into paint, to oil-based paints, and it eliminates streaks from brushes and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people on forums online that are talking about this stuff and saying that if you put a nice even coat on it, it will preserve that look, but you can still touch it. It's not going to leave stains. It's not going to oxidize, and so on. The next thing is more traditional. We're going to heat the crap out of this little piece of metal right here, just raw. We're actually going to rub this down a little bit just to clean off a little bit of the rust. And we're going to heat the crap out of it with our little propane blowtorch here. And then we're going to quench it with just oil. This is Central Pneumatic Tool Oil. It doesn't really matter what kind of oil you use. Depending on the oil, it's going to give it a different color. But we just want to see what the end result here is. So those are our 4 different chemical, tests on just basically bare metal. Now over here, we're going to do something a little different. Here, we're going to hit it with the high grit flap disc. So we're going to take these down to bare metal. And then we're going to treat it with the Penetrol. Here, we're going to do flap disc plus heat and oil. And then here, instead of using the flap disc, we're going to use this wire wheel, which doesn't take off everything, but it's kind of an in-between what it is naturally and what it's going to look like, when you hit it with a flap disc. So this option is somewhere in between, and we're going to try that with Penetrol as well, because this is really the item that I want to test, and I think I'm going to end up using based on reviews, but we want to have a nice variation here. So first thing we're going to do is, this one is already done. We've cleaned it off, as best as we're going to clean it off, and it's bare, and it might oxidize a little bit in the next few days, it might not. So moving on, the next test is going to be IPA, and before I start all this, I guess I should put on some gloves to make this all sciencey. So we're going to take just a standard towel here, fold it over into 4. We're going to clean this surface off the best we can with the dry towel. We got a little bit of those big rust spots off. And now all we're going to do is we're going to wet our towel down like this. And we're going to clean the crap out of this the best we can. So that's how it looks right now. So I'm going to say that's good. So you can compare that to that. That's what bare looks like. That's what IPA looks like. And we're going to check on it after a few days and after a week. And I'm also probably going to end up spraying this down with a little bit of water or wiping it down with a damp towel just to see if it reacts. So next we have our Penetrol. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, try to get some of the big rust off of it like that, like we did over here. And now we're going to open up our little tub of Penetrol. We're going to grab another towel, pop the top on this. This definitely has an oily feel to it, which makes sense because it's designed to work with oil-based paint. So there we go, and then we just wipe it down, give it another application, wipe it down, give it a little bit more Penetrol, wipe it down, and we're just going to leave that last layer on there like that. So now we're on to the blowtorch and oil section. So what we're going to do here is we're going to clean this off to get as much of this off of there as we can. And so the way this works is you want to heat the metal up and then quench it with oil. So we're going to just fire up our blowtorch and we're going to warm this sumbitch up. Now we're just going to quench this. Have all the oil at once. And just like with the Penetrol, we're going to just leave a small amount of oil on there. And now we're going to do the flap disc and the Penetrol and flap disc and oil, and all we're really going to do here is just plug this guy in and take it down to bare metal. I'm going to try not to grind too much on it. And then let's go ahead and use our wire wheel here to take the wire down. And you can see right there there's a very clear difference between this. This is a very natural metal finish. You can see all the pits in the steel. And this is really the kind of finish that I would want. So we're going to go ahead and soak this through with Penetrol and do our flap area and our wire wheel area. So now we're actually going to let this all cool down and relax. Today's Saturday, December 5th, and it's 4:05 p.m. We're going to check back Sunday, December 6th at about 4 or 5 o'clock to give it 24 hours, and we're gonna mist it down with a little bit of water, and then we're going to come back a week from Sunday and film it again and see what this all looks like after it's had a little bit of water on it for about a week. See if there's any rust, see how everything feels, and then we'll know what the best way to seal steel is. Okay, we're back in the garage with our experimental piece. As you can see, it is December 6th, 4 o'clock p.m., so it's been exactly 1 day. And so now we're going to take a look at what everything looks like. Unfortunately, these stickers are coming off, so I had to write it on with the paint marker. But this is our bare surface, so if we rub it, you can see that you're getting more of the rust residue, stuff like that, exactly as we'd expect. Here's the IPA surface. Just from a feel, it feels a lot smoother. And if we rub this middle part, you can see there's very little residual stuff coming off. So after 1 day, the IPA seems to be okay. So the part with the Penetrol on it, it's a little bit, it's not tacky, but there's a little bit more friction on it when you run your finger over it. But it doesn't leave any sort of residue on your finger. And if we rub an area, it's completely clear too. So now this is the part where we heated up and then quenched it with oil. If you touch it, it feels oily. If we wipe, what we're going to do is we're going to actually just wipe this oil off. And you can see there's oil and material coming off, but once we've wiped all that off, you can still see there's rust coming off there. So over here we did the flap disc and the Penetrol. You can see it's all perfectly clear. It's the same feel. Has a little bit of tackiness to it, not a lot. Doesn't leave any stains. The flap disc plus the oil feels oily, so we're going to just wipe that down. But since we knocked off all of the rust, there's nothing really left there. And the wire in the Penetrol has that nice look to it, and it also feels really smooth. I really like the way that this feels. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go inside and I'm going to soak this towel here. Actually, we're going to do 4 towels, 4 pieces of towel, just so we don't contaminate too much stuff. And I'm just going to soak these in tap water. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub the tap water on here and just kind of let it air dry and oxidize for a week. And then we'll come back in a week and we'll see how everything looks now that it's been exposed to water and had the opportunity to rust. For the duration of that time, it's just going to lay under my workbench. If stuff gets on it, stuff gets on it. I want to see how well this stuff works, long term in the house. People are going to be touching it, so on and so forth. So I'm going to get this soaked with water and come back and apply. What's up, guys? As you can see, it is about 4 o'clock on Sunday, December 13th. So we've given this a full week. Last couple of days has been raining, so I decided to go on and do a full torture test and left it outside for a few days. So coming back, this is what our bare metal looks like. And you can see that it's already starting to rust, oxidize, come off. The IPA one isn't much better. So this is the one that was covered with Penetrol, but was still left kind of raw. And as you can see, there's no residue here. This is the one we did with oil, residue, flap disc plus Penetrol. If you look closely, you can see little tiny amounts of rust that may have to do more with the application of the material. But here's the flap disc plus oil, and you can see rust is starting to develop in certain places. And this is the wire plus the Penetrol, and you can again see that there's no rust here. I mean, we can rub the shit out of it and still nothing. So the final verdict is this stuff right here, Penetrol by a company called Flood. Works great, and it's great at sealing metal. So as we kind of go and build some furniture here in the next weeks or so, I think we're going to go for this sort of look. We're going to grind everything down and hit it with a wire wheel and seal it up with Penetrol. And it should be good for a certain period of time. I don't know how long it lasts, but it should last for quite a bit. You can see the oil did okay, but it's not as good as the Penetrol, and it leaves a nice smooth finish. So that's all for this video. Just thought we'd do a little science experiment, put it up on the internet. Thanks, guys.